Hey everyone, and welcome to part 4 of my honest experience on Supermodel of the Year. Now, if you haven't watched the previous videos, I would highly recommend watching it in a series so you get the continuity and you can understand my experience completely. But if you want to just dive into this one, you can do that as well. So let's try to see where we stopped the last time and then pick up where we left off. So we were talking about the underwater ramp task, which once again I had not performed well in, and I just really had to get a grip on myself and see what is going on with me internally, right? Because anything external that ends up not going well, it's something internally that's not going well, that's getting impacted, and that's why you can't perform. So I really had to sit with myself and figure all of that out and why I wasn't able to do it. Along with that, of course, it could be that your skill set doesn't match the demands of the situation, which could also be the case. But, there are many reasons. So anyway, let's see what the next task was about and how the whole thing transpired. So this, after the underwater ramp task, the shortlisted girls went away for their task with the judges where they were modeling for a magazine cover. So that was great. They did their task. And this is where they get points, right? So far, me and Rene or Renu had 0 points because we were just not going through the audition task. So there was no way for us to accumulate points in the shortlist task. We were just not making it. So it wasn't happening and we were not reaching there. Now, what happens is we're being told, even by the producers and even by the judges, that we need to perform, right? Because we're on this show to give tough competition, to do a good job. We cannot stay at 0 like that and, not perform. So there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of criticism. There's a lot of harsh words. There's a certain environment that is being created. There's a certain humiliation. People are looking at you a certain way. And like I was discussing, for someone like me who's never experienced that before, it was very claustrophobic. I couldn't understand what was going on, and certain ways in which I was being spoken to, etc., was very, very challenging, to say the least. So that's where we were at mentally. And then finally, we were given the next task, right? So this task now is pretty unique. It's at the train station. So they've created it like a set of the train station. And we're told that we have to carry off an androgynous look, which is male, female. And we have to look really alluring and walk through that platform, looking at the camera and the judges, and then continuing into the train and doing 2 rounds of that. Okay, so we had a costume change and we had to essentially walk the ramp, but not like how we would walk as women, but with a slightly tomboyish style to fit the androgyny look. Now, the designers were there. We were being provided with clothes and all of those things. And finally, I was like, okay, finally a ramp walk, right? Because this is something we've been trained to do. I used to do it in college as well. I was like, how difficult is this going to be? It's not something in the sky. It's not something underwater. Finally, this one is going to work out, what I thought. And I was really excited because sometimes I am pretty tomboyish as a person. So I thought, this is my natural instinct. Like, it's not going to be that difficult. So I went in with that agenda of, now is my time. Let me shine. Let me do it. Let me show them that I can really, really perform, that I'm here for a reason and I can do well. So keeping all this background chatter in my mind, I went in. We got our looks. We got our eye makeup, which was accentuating our eyes, making them look even bigger than they normally are. And we went in for the task. Now, the judges and the mentors showed us how they want us to walk, and then they continued and we had to perform. Now, personally, while I was performing the task, I felt great. It felt amazing. I thought I knocked it out of the park, right? I was like, wow, I was so confident. I think I did an amazing job. Now, throughout this entire period, right, as you can see, I have pretty big eyes. My eyes are pretty large. And as a result of that, if I look to the side, if I look to the side, there's a lot of white space you can see because my eyes are large. And so on a TV camera, it looks like really wide, and sometimes it looks like I'm scaring someone or doing that, but it's not. It's just my eyes are big like that. So the judges had told me that try to not do too many eyeball movements because it might come on the camera and that might not look very good. So just be careful. So I said, sure, I mean, I'll try. But the thing is, these are my eyes. I'm not purposefully looking somewhere, but my eyes are generally big. So the minute, I mean, when you see me in real life, they look fine. But cameras amplify it. And when they're filming you for television, there's a lot of close-up shots. So it looks much bigger than it actually is. And so I tried my best, but obviously in certain sections, there was actually one moment, by the way, while walking the ramp where we had been told to look to the side because there was another camera there. So I looked to the side, assuming that because I'm looking to the side, that camera will capture my expression, not the front one. So this whole thing with the eye is not going to get captured here, it'll get captured there. And then I'll continue walking because all of us had been told to look on the side, right? So that's what I thought. But when we saw the final reel, when I looked there, instead of taking that angle, it was a front shot. So what it looked like was a lot of white space in my eyes, which to me is not that big a deal. But of course, the professionals have to determine what a big deal is and isn't. But for me, I thought it was fine. And they had a lot of criticism on the walk itself, on the way they wanted me to walk versus how I actually walked. They said that it looked scary instead of looking alluring. It looked arrogant and aggressive. And I was like, that's the look I was going for. So I guess I just maybe interpreted the brief differently and I wanted to do it this way. And that's why I felt good while doing it. I thought I was doing a great job, but clearly this is not what they expected and this is not what they wanted. And at the end of the day, it is a competition. So they want you to follow instructions. And at the end, when I wasn't able to perform the way they wanted me to, which I didn't know, right? I thought I was doing well in this task at least. So at the end, they told me that, your performance stuck out like a sore thumb because the other girls did it in a very different way and you did it very differently. And I thought sticking out would be a good thing, but I think I stuck out in a very different way that they didn't appreciate. And me as a person, I'm not argumentative. I don't get into fights. I don't argue. If you tell me something, I'll just say okay and leave. I'm not even rude. So when they were telling me all this, I was just being respectful, nodding and trying to hear them out. And so that again was a point where I was like, okay, am I going to get rejected for a third time? Like, this is insane. This, like, if you heard me in the previous video saying this cannot happen, by the third time, I was done. I was like, I don't know what kind of unique experience this is. I don't even know how to react anymore. So when the results came and it said rejected, I had no words. Like, I had nothing to communicate. And I'm somebody who like meditates and prays quite a bit. So I was angry. I think I was angry in that moment because I was like, so far in my life, the meditation, the yoga practice, everything has always helped me win. Why is it not letting me win now? What's going on? Is this like predetermined? Am I supposed to not do well? Like, what is happening? And I remember even that time when the word rejected came for the third time on the screen, I had nothing. I didn't say anything. I just sat there and the tears just came off my face. I was just crying. And a lot of the girls, they really felt bad, right? Because I was friends with them. We were all friends. They knew me as a person and they knew that I'm a good person. Like, I don't want to be shown as somebody who's losing and who's not able to perform. That's not who I am as a person. And in the house, in the moments where I had some energy and I wasn't brooding over the loss, in those moments, I would be energetic, as I usually am, happy. I would be dancing a lot. So every time music came, I'd make the girls dance. We do a little bit of yoga as well. So they knew me as a person and I think they could see that this is not, like, this person who's losing again and again is not who I am. And they knew that. So they would also really encourage me and be like, dude, Anvita, this is not, like, we don't know why it's happening. And we know you're trying your best, but maybe this just isn't it for you. Like, it's not about, like, they kept telling me not to take it personally because they kept saying, we think you're amazing. Don't take this personal. Don't take these losses personal. But obviously that's really hard to do, right? When you're losing constantly, that too on national television, you're not used to failing. Your self-image is not used to that. It takes a hit. I think it takes a huge hit because you now have to see yourself in a different way that you've never seen yourself before. And it's almost expected of you, right, on TV to be upset for losing. So even if you're trying to pep yourself up and be joyful and say, it's fine, let me move forward, they don't want to show that. Like, you're not supposed to be motivated and say, yes, it's okay, I love myself. They want you to cry. They want you to look upset. They want you to say that you are sad about this loss. So yes, I was sad, but in those few moments that I had motivation and I said, it's okay, I still love myself. None of that came on television. And I did say it even to a few judges. And I remember them telling me off camera that that's really brave of you and we really appreciate your spirit and keep it up and keep going. But obviously none of that is going to come on TV. So you don't get the whole experience of, like, with real people going through all of these episodes, really experiencing all these things, but you don't get to see that. And that's obviously because the show's narrative is built in a certain way. If you're losing, they want to show you as someone that's losing. They're not going to say this person's losing, but they're very motivated. They've never lost before in their life. They're just having a hard time mental health wise. None of that is going to be shown on television, right? So anyway, finally, I totally given up. I had nothing left in me really to go on anymore. I was just like, let me just eat. Whenever I get eliminated from the show, I'm just going to go home. I have a lot of things to sit with. I have a lot to unpack. In just merely 2 weeks of shoot, right? All of this is just 2 weeks. I've changed so much has happened to me. We've had sleepless nights, shoots that it's insane. I couldn't take it. And I was ready to go home right there. But obviously, we were not done yet. And they took the girls that were shortlisted over into another task, which I can't even remember what that task was now, but they went to another task. And the girls that got rejected, which this time was me, Anushka, and Sakshi, we stayed back. And yeah, the other girls actually, they went to the set for a ramp walk task where there were going to be like errors or mishaps on the runway and they had to manage those. So that was sort of their shortlist task. But yeah, for me, I was at a point where I had broken down and I had just started crying. I had nothing to say. I had really nothing to say at that point. I just wanted to go home. And we still had one more task. Can you imagine? For me, it was like, I've lost 3 tasks, 3 out of 4 gone. I'm not going to make it to the next round. I don't even want to do this. And I was like, dude, if I lose the 4th one, that's it. I need to take a vacation for 6 months to get my mind right. Like, this is not supposed to happen to me, is what I kept telling myself. And I think the most challenging part was acceptance. Accepting what had happened to you and not fighting against it. That is what was the most challenging thing for me. So after this got over and I hadn't made it again, I was just like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm going to do my best in the 4th task and then I'm just going to go home and I'm going to meditate, talk to my parents and see what I can do. Because I literally felt in that moment that this situation is now out of my control, and no matter what I do, it's not working. Like, everything that I have naturally done, like I used to be showstopper in college doing ramp walks. So it's not like I don't know. And I had done ramp walks in London as well. So I was really surprised. I was like, I have done these things before. I can't understand why this is not being appreciated or why I'm not able to perform the way they want me to. So it's really out of my capacity. I really couldn't wrap my head around it. But we reached the end of this episode. And then we had the final 4th task, which again was to do with height. And we're going to find out what happened in that task. There's a little bit of good news in that task. So we're going to wait for that one in the next episode. And we're going to look at what happened in that task. And after that task, there was the elimination round. So very close to the end of my supermodel journey, just 1 more or 2 more episodes to go in this series. And I look forward to sharing that with you and letting you know what my experience was like. So thank you for sticking by so far. If you watched all the different parts, it's not to tell you, just tell you how I felt, but also to show you that things can be challenging and it's difficult, and we kind of have to work through it and keep rising up and up to the surface. So it takes time to work through these things if they do happen in your life, but it gets better and you rise above it and you become a better person. So let's see what happens in the next episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.